Today's topic is thoracic case. You know that this is the trunk of the body. Trunk of the body, it is formed by thorax and abdomen. Upper part of the trunk of body is formed by thorax and lower part of the trunk of the body is formed by abdomen. Thorax and abdomen, they are separated from one another by means of transverse partition. And this transverse partition, it is formed by diaphragm muscle. Diaphragm muscle, it is the main respiratory muscles. Now, the bony framework of thorax, it is known as the thoracic cage. This is the front view of thoracic cage and this is the back view of thoracic cage. In the front view of thoracic cage, the anterior midline bone is the sternum. Anterior midline bone is the sternum. And posterior view, the posterior midline bones, they are the 12 thoracic vertebrae. They are the 12 thoracic vertebrae. Laterally on each side, you will get the 12 ribs. This is the posterior part of the rib. This is the anterior part of the rib. Anterior part of the rib, it is connected anteriorly with the costal cartilage. So this is the costal cartilage of first rib, second rib, and similarly the costal cartilage of all the ribs are there. Means thoracic cage is bounded anteriorly by sternum, posteriorly by 12 thoracic vertebrae, and laterally on each side it is bounded by 12 ribs with their costal cartilage. Suppose we are going in the details. This manubrium, this is sternum having a three part. This part of the sternum, it is called manubrium. This part of sternum is called body, and this small part of sternum it is called Gifford process. So sternum having a three part, manubrium, body, and the Gifford process. Upper border of the manubrium, it is concave, and this concave upper border, it is known as the suprasternal notch. Lower end of the manubrium, it makes the joint with the body, and joint between the manubrium and the body, it is known as the manubriosternal joint. Actually, the meeting point of the manubrium and sternum, it is little angular, and this angle at the junction, it is open posteriorly or toward the thoracic cavity, and this angle, it is called sternal angle, and position of sternal angle, it is on external surface or anterior surface, it is marked by transverse ridge. Lower end of the body, it is articulated with the Gifford process, and joint between the body and Gifford process, it is known as the Giffosternal joint, and lower end of the Gifford process, it is called tip of the Gifford process. So sternum having a three part, manubrium, body, and the Gifford process. These three parts make the two joints, manubriosternal joint and the Giffosternal joint. Now, in the posterior view, midline bone, there are the 12 thoracic vertebrae. Actually, these all the thoracic vertebrae, they are known according to number. First thoracic vertebrae, second, third, fourth, and so on up to the 12. This here in the figure, these are the body of thoracic vertebrae. So body of the thoracic vertebrae having a four surface. See, this is the, suppose this is the body of the vertebrae. So this is the upper surface of the body. This is the lower surface of body. This is the anterior surface of body, and this is the posterior surface of body. So body having a four surface, upper, lower, anterior, and posterior. So similarly, see, this is the upper surface of first thoracic vertebrae. This is lower surface of 12 thoracic vertebrae. Now, in between the body of the vertebrae, there is a one articular disc is there, and that articular disc between the two vertebrae, and it is known as the intervertebral disc. It is known as the intervertebral disc. Now laterally, suppose we are going, currently here there are 12 ribs are there. So rib, suppose this is the rib. The rib is arch shape, and rib having a two end, anterior and posterior end. So it is a two end, anterior end and the posterior, and the remaining part it is called shaft of the ribs. Now in this diagram, this end of the rib here posteriorly, it is a posterior end, and this posterior end is make the joint with the body, and it is called costovertebral joint. So all the thoracic vertebrae, ribs, all the thoracic ribs, they by their posterior end, it is articulated with the body of the vertebrae and form the costovertebral joint. Anterior end of the rib, it is seen in the anterior view. Suppose this is the anterior end of first rib. So anterior end of the first rib, it is articulated with costal cartilage. So naturally here, between the anterior end of the rib and costal cartilage, the joint is formed. And this joint, it is called costochondral joint. This joint is called costochondral joint. So similarly, anterior end of the older rib, they make the costochondral joint with its own costal cartilage, Now, this rib, they are 12 in numbers. Suppose you see the upper 7 rib. So costal cartilage of upper 7 means first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth and 7. It is articulated with the sternum. So upper 7 rib posteriorly articulate with the thoracic vertebrae and form the costovertebral joint. Anterior end of the older rib, they articulate with the costal cartilage and form the costochondral joint. Now this costal cartilage of upper 7 rib, it is articulated with the sternum and form the joint. It is called sternocondyle joint. So this is the sternocondyle joint, this is the sternocondyle joint, this is the sternocondyle joint. It means that upper 7 rib, they posteriorly articulate with the thoracic vertebrae. Anteriorly, via their costal cartilage, it is articulated with the sternum. So upper 7 rib, they are known as the vertebrosternal ribs. And vertebrosternal ribs, they are also known as the true ribs. Lower 5 ribs. Lower 5 rib means 8, 9, 10, 8, 9, 10, 11th and 12th. They are called false ribs. So ribs are divided into two groups. Upper 7, by their articulation with the sternum, it is called vertebrosternal ribs or the true ribs. And lower 5 ribs means 8 to 12, they are called false ribs. This false rib, they are divided into two groups. Group number 1, group number 2. 8, 9 and 10th rib form the group number 1. And 11 and 12, they form the group number 2. First we will see 8, 9 and 10th rib. See the posterior end of 8, 9 and 10th, it is articulated with thoracic vertebrae. And posterior end of the 8, 9 and 10th, anterior end of 8, 9 and 10th, it is articulated with the costal cartilage and from the costochondral joint. Now costal cartilage of 8, it is not articulated with sternum, but it articulates with the costal cartilage of 7 and from the interchondral joint. Similarly, the 9th rib, it is articulated with the costal cartilage of 7. And 10th rib, costal cartilage of 10th rib, it is articulated with the costal cartilage of 9. So 8, 9, 10th rib, they posteriorly articulate with the thoracic vertebrae. And anteriorly via their costal cartilage, it is articulated with the costal cartilage of the rib lying above it. So costal cartilage of 8 is articulated with costal cartilage of 7. Costal cartilage of 9 is articulated with the costal cartilage of 8. And costal cartilage of 10, it is articulated with the costal cartilage of 9. So 8, 9, 10th rib posteriorly articulate with the thoracic vertebrae. and anteriorly via their costal cartilage, it is articulated with the costal cartilage of rib lying one number above it. So according to articulation 8, 9 and 10th ribs, they are known as the vertebrochondral ribs. They are called vertebrochondral ribs. Now in the 11th and 12th rib, see this is the posterior end of the 11th, 12th. So posterior end of 11th and 12th, they articulate with the thoracic vertebrae. And anterior end is articulated with the costal cartilage. And here between the anterior and costal cartilage joint is formed, that is called costochondral joint. Now costal cartilage of 11 and 12 neither articulate with sternum nor with the costal cartilage of the rib one number above it. But the costal cartilage of 11 and 12, they are free. They are not articulate with the any bone. And that is why 11 and 12th rib, they only articulate posteriorly with the thoracic vertebrae, and that is why 11 and 12th rib, they are called vertebral rib. But these vertebral ribs, they are more popularly known as the floating ribs. They are on the floating ribs. It means that the ribs are divided into two groups, upper 7 and lower 5. Upper 7, they are called true ribs, and lower 5, they are called false ribs. The false rib, they again divide into two groups, 8 and 9, 10th. It form one group and it is known the vertebrochondral ribs. And 11, 12, they articulate with only with the thoracic vertebrae, and that is why it is called thoracic. It is called vertebral ribs, or vertebral rib. They are also called floating ribs. They are also called floating ribs. Now thoracic cage, if you are seeing from, actually it is conical in shape. Its upper part is narrow and lower part is broad. But actually when we see in the body, the upper part of thorax, it's seen broad. And it's seen broad, that is due to the shoulder only. Actually the upper part is narrow and this whole thoracic cage is conical in shape. At the both the end of thoracic cage having an opening. At the upper end there is an opening, that is called superior aperture. And lower end there is also opening, it is called inferior aperture. The superior aperture, it is more popularly known as the inlet of thorax. It is more popularly known as the inlet of thorax. Now inlet of thorax, it is bounded anteriorly by suprasternal notch. Posteriorly it bounded by upper surface of first thoracic vertebrae. And laterally on each side, it is bounded by first rib with its costal cartilage. So inlet of thorax, again it is bounded anteriorly by suprasternal notch, posteriorly by upper surface of first thoracic vertebrae, and laterally on each side, first rib with its costal cartilage. First rib with costal cartilage. Now, the inlet of thorax, it is not a horizontal opening. It is not a horizontal opening, but this opening is oblique. So, posterior wall, which is formed by upper surface of thoracic vertebrae, it is higher level, and anterior wall formed by suprasternal notch, it is lower level. Actually, the suprasternal notch, it is about 4 to 5 centimeter lower level than the upper surface of first thoracic vertebrae. Suppose here, this is lateral view of thorax. In the lateral view of thorax, see, this is the sternum, manubrium, body and the thought process, and these are the 12 thoracic vertebrae. So upper suprasternal notch at the lower level, upper surface of first thoracic vertebrae is higher level. Suppose you draw the plane of inlet. So plane of the inlet, it is running obliquely. And this oblique plane of the inlet of thorax, it make about 45-degree angle with the horizontal plane. It form a 45-degree angle with the horizontal plane. this inlet of thorax, actually it is partly closed by suprapleural membrane. Partly closed by suprapleural membrane. See, this is the first thoracic vertebrae. Above the first thoracic vertebrae, this is the 7 cervical vertebrae. So this is the body of 7 cervical vertebrae, and this is the transverse process of 7 cervical vertebrae. Terminal part of the transverse process, it is called the tip of the transverse process. It is called tip of the transverse process. Now here inlet is partly closed by suprapleural membrane, and suprapleural membrane is triangular in shape. It has a base and the apex. Apex of the suprapleural membrane, it is attached to the tip of transverse process of the 7 cervical vertebrae. And base is attached to the inner border of first rib and with its costal cartilage. So apex is attached to the tip of transverse process of 7 cervical vertebrae. Base is attached to the inner border of first rib with its costal cartilage. Similarly, on this side you can also do the suprapleural membrane. Suprapleural membrane, it is one name. Second name of suprapleural membrane, it is called Sifson fascia. And its third name is suprapleural. It is called diaphragm of inlet of thorax. So suprapleural membrane is one name, Sifson fascia is second name, and diaphragm of inlet of thorax, it is third name. Suppose you remove the suprapleural membrane from both the sides, then the structure passes through the inlet, they are seen. Two types of the structure passes through the inlet of thorax: major structure and minor structure. Today we will see only the major structure. About the minor structure I will tell you when the time will come. So see, this is the diagram. This is removed. After removing it is seen after removing the suprapleural membrane. So this is the first thoracic vertebrae. This is the suprasternal notch. This is the first rib with its costal cartilage, and this is the costal cartilage ribs. Now in lateral part of the inlet, this is the upper end of the lung. Upper end of the lung, it is called apex. So this is the apex of the lung, and lung having its own covering, and this covering, it is called cervical pleura. So in the lateral part, you will get apex of the lung structure, it passes through it, apex of the lung and the cervical pleura. In front of the thoracic vertebrae, anterior to the thoracic vertebrae, this is the esophagus. Esophagus, it is a part of the digestive system. In front of the esophagus, this is the trachea. And trachea, it is a part of respiratory system. Lateral to esophagus and trachea, suppose this is the left side, this is the right side. So here on the left side, the two arteries are seen lateral to the trachea. One anterior, other one is posterior. Anterior one, it is called left common carotid artery. And posterior one, it is called left subclavian artery. So left common carotid artery, left subclavian artery. And lateral to both the arteries, the vein is there. It is called left brachiocephalic vein. Left brachiocephalic vein, and it receives the venous blood from left side of head and neck and left upper limb. Now behind the blood artery and vein, posteriorly you will get nerve, and this nerve is called vagus nerve. Vagus nerve. So vagus nerve, it is a cranial nerve. You know that the nerve which are arises from spinal cord, they are called spinal nerve, and nerve which are arises from brain, they are called cranial nerve. And this cranial nerve, they are total 12 in number, and this cranial nerve, they are known according to name as well as by number. So vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve. The structure passes on the left side, left to the trachea, left common carotid artery, left subclavian artery, lateral to the both the artery there is a left brachiocephalic vein, and posterior to the blood vessel you will get the left 10th left vagus nerve or 10th cranial nerve. And here in front, behind the vagus nerve, here on the lateral part you will get left sympathetic trunk. Left sympathetic trunk. Left sympathetic trunk, it is a part of the autonomic nervous system. Now on the right side of the trachea and esophagus, you will get one artery that is called right brachiocephalic artery. Suppose you trace the right brachiocephalic artery divide into two branches. One branch going into the left, one branch is going into right side of the head and neck, and it is called right common carotid artery, and one is going into the right upper limb, it is called right subclavian artery. So this is the right brachiocephalic vein. Lateral to the right brachiocephalic vein, there is a vein there that is called left brachiocephalic vein, and behind it you will get right vagus nerve or 10th cranial nerve, and here most posteriorly you will get right sympathetic trunk. Right sympathetic trunk. Now the lower opening or interior opening of the thoracic case, it is also known as the outlet of thorax. It is also known as the outlet of thorax. Now see, in the outlet of thorax, most anteriorly you will get G4 process, and posteriorly in outlet you will get lower surface of the 12th thoracic vertebrae. Lower surface of 12th thoracic vertebrae. Now see on the lateral side. See, this is costal cartilage of 7, this is costal cartilage of 8, costal cartilage of 9, and costal cartilage of 10. So costal cartilage of 7 to 10 form a margin, and this is called costal margin. So actually this is the costal margin of one side, this is costal margin of other side. So in between the two costal margin, below the sternum, one angle is formed, and this angle, it is called infrasternal angle. Angle is called infrasternal angle, and infrasternal angle, it is formed by costal margin of right side and left side, and costal margin is formed by 7 to 10 costal cartilage on each side. So outlet of thorax, it is bounded anteriorly by infrasternal angle, posteriorly bounded by lower surface of 12th thoracic vertebrae, and laterally on each side it is bounded by costal margin and 11th and 12th rib. Again, the boundary of outlet anteriorly by infrasternal angle, posteriorly by inferior surface of 12th thoracic vertebrae, and laterally on each side costal margin and 11th and 12th rib. This outlet of thorax, it is closed by transverse partition, and that transverse partition, it is formed by diaphragm muscles. So diaphragm muscle, in the outlet, two type of openings are present: minor opening and the major opening. Minor opening, about the minor opening we will see when the time will come. Today I will take about the major opening. So major opening, they are totally 3 in number. See this diagram, this is the sternum, these are the 12 thoracic vertebrae, and this is the diaphragm muscles. So in the diaphragm muscle you will get 3 openings, one is here, second is here, and third is here. See the position of this opening, it is called opening of inferior vena cava. Opening of inferior vena cava. This opening, it is called opening of it is called esophageal opening, and this opening it is called aortic opening. So three openings are present: opening of inferior vena cava, esophageal opening, and aortic opening. See the level of the inferior vena cava opening. Inferior vena cava opening, it is lying at the level of 8 thoracic vertebrae. Esophageal opening, it is lying at the level of 10 thoracic vertebrae. And aortic opening is lying at the level of 12 thoracic vertebrae. So these three measures, they are lying at the level of 8, 10 and 12. IVC inferior vena cava opening 8, esophageal opening 10 and aortic opening 12. Now inferior vena cava opening transmit the two structures. One is inferior vena cava and second is branches of right phrenic nerve. Right phrenic nerve supply the diaphragm muscles. Esophageal opening transmit the one esophagus. Continuation of right and left vagus nerve and esophageal branches of left gastric artery with accompanying vein. So structure passes through the esophageal opening. One is esophagus, second continuation of right and left vagus nerve, and third one esophageal branches of left gastric artery with accompanying vein. This is the aortic opening at the level of 12 thoracic vertebrae. It transmits the aorta and thoracic duct and azygos vein. So aorta, thoracic duct, it is the main vessels of lymphatic system, and third one is azygos vein. So structure passes through the esophageal opening, inferior vena cava opening, inferior vena cava and right phrenic nerve. Esophageal opening structure passes esophagus, continuation of right and left vagus nerve, and the esophageal branches of left gastric artery with accompanying vein, and through the aortic opening, aorta, thoracic duct and azygos vein. Now we see the applied anatomy of thoracic case. You know that in the children, thoracic, the bones are highly elastic, and that is why fracture of the rib, it is very uncommon. It is very uncommon in the children. In the adult, by direct or indirect violence, direct or indirect violence, fracture of the rib is also occur. So usually in this fracture, upper two ribs and lower two ribs, usually they are escape from the fracture, because upper two ribs, they are hidden by clavicle, and lower two ribs, they are called floating rib, they are escape from the fractures. Suppose in the indirect cross injury, if there is a fracture is there, usually the fracture is occur at the weak point of the rib. And the weak point of the rib, suppose this is the rib, so anterior end of the rib, this is posterior end of rib, and this is the shaft. So when the shaft from the posterior end first running laterally and then it bend, point where it bend, it is called angle of rib. And angle of the rib is the weakest point of the rib. So if the common fracture commonly occur at the ribs, at the angle of the rib. Suppose in severe cross injury, if the fracture is occur, the rib is fractured at the two point. One is angle and second is costochondral joint. Suppose there is a fracture, cross injury, severe fracture. So this rib which is costal cartilage is divided into three parts. Costal cartilage is one part. Suppose the angle is here, so this is second part and this is third part. So first part is articulate with the costal cartilage. Third part is articulate with the rib. But the middle part is free, having any bony connection. Now you know that thoracic case, it take part in the formation, it take part in the respiration. So respiration is occur in two phases, in inspiration and expiration. During inspiration, the ribs are going outward, and during expiration, ribs are going inward. when the ribs are going outward, at that time intrathoracic pressure is decreased, and that is why air from the outside is enter. But the outer more pressure, it push the separated end of the rib inside. All the rib they are going outside, and cut end of the rib it go inside. During expiration, when the pressure in the thoracic cage is increased, so all the ribs are going inward, and cut portion of the rib is going outward. So this reverse movement